Food security for me is the fundamental importance for human existence. Food security exists when people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active, healthy life. Here are the factors that lead global food security. The first one is the world population growth. In the last 50 years, I think, in the years of 1960 to 2010, the global population has increased over from 3.0 to 6.8 billion people. Can you imagine that one? Okay, we have the next one is the increase of demand for food.
More people are seeking help to put food on the table, according to a new study, and welfare groups are struggling to cope. The End Hunger report.
Forecast increase in the world's population to over 9 billion in 2050. It will result in the further growth in food demand. The third one we have here, I think, is the food price. The food crisis played its part in the increase in the number of undernourished people all over the world. The fourth one is the disappearance of the variety of agriculture plant species. Okay, the diversification of agriculture is the only and the most important method of achieving food security in a changing life. We have the fifth one, the second to the last, is the increase in the area of scarcity, water, and the limitation of the availability of land. We all know that water is one of the most important factors deciding the fate of a human being. So we really need to conserve water every day so that we can save life. We can save our future. And the last one is the food losses and food waste. Yes, the food losses and food waste are two different issues. Yeah, and the good solution is to campaign, which may contribute to changes in consumers' behavior. One of them is under the slogan of "Do not waste food." As I examined the food security in the Philippines during the pandemic time, the COVID-19 pandemic has significantly affected household food consumption and nutrition as a result of loss of jobs and income and limited access to food. The biggest challenge is to accessing food in the Philippines is the lack of income due to unemployment, as I mentioned earlier. This problem is especially prevalent in the southern island group of Mindanao, where 9 of the 16 poorest provinces lie.
Pandemic may affect workforces, transportation systems, and supply chains. The impact of the virus in the other areas of the world may result in your community experiencing food crisis even before the virus causes severe health problems in your municipality. Some of the first things that you will notice that indicate a pandemic could cause a food security problems are industries that rely on import and export are struggling. Food supplies are hard to get locally. And lastly, economic activities are disrupted.
So there are 5 components of food security, no? Mainly the food availability. What does this mean? So it is a sufficient quantities of appropriate food that are available from domestic production, no? Or commercial imports, or food assistance on a consistent base. So meaning, there is a reliable and consistent source of quality food. Here in the Philippines, we have our rice fields as our source of rice, poultry farms, piggeries, and any farms that can generate food. Second is, we must have a food access. Adequate income or other sources are available to access appropriate food through home production, buying, exchanging, gifts, borrowing, or food aid. So meaning, people must have a sufficient resources to produce or to purchase food. So that is why we need multiple sources of income for us to purchase foods in the market. The third one is food utilization. Food must be properly used through appropriate food processing and storage practices. So there must be an adequate knowledge and application of nutrition and childcare practices. So meaning, people must have the knowledge and basic sanitary conditions to choose, to prepare, and to distribute food in a way that results in good nutrition. So hindi dapat yung pakain-kain ka lang ng kahit ano-ano, no? So dapat you know what food are you going to take para sa nutrition ng katawan natin. The fourth one is stability. Adequate food must be obtainable at all times so that access and availability of food is not curtailed by acute or recurring emergencies. So this means that people have the ability to access and utilize food that remains stable and sustainable over time. Lastly is agencies. These are the ones who promotes or curtail the policies and processes that enable the achievement of food security. So, internationally, we have the FDA and the WHO.
For centuries, food security was interpreted as the possibility of providing food produced in a given country in full or in the majority to satisfy the demands of all inhabitants of Earth. This meaning of food security has changed along with the development of trade and international specialty. Threats to global food security. The food system is bending under the intense pressure of the world population growth, increasing demand for food, in particular meat and meat products, as well as milk and dairy products. Scarcity of water and land resources, and the fight for arable land with the producers of biofuels, industry, and urbanization. To learn more about this topic, I have invited an expert towards this field. So, for you, Mr. Magdua, what is the first and foremost threat to global food security? Thank you for that question. So as for me, the first and foremost challenge or threat to global food security would be climate change. Inarguably, climate change is the biggest challenge that the world has to face in terms of global food security. So climate change is clear indication that nature's balance is messed up. Weather patterns become more erratic and more intense. Temperatures either goes up or plummet to freezing point. Sea level rises and landscapes drastically change. Sadly, plants, trees, and wildlife simply don't have enough time to evolve to adapt to the new conditions. So obviously, agriculture takes a hit too because it depends so much on nature. So, with this, we can connect that climate change greatly affects the global food security of Earth. Thank you for that, Mr. Magdua. And to further indulge our viewers to this matter, what do you think are the other reasons or things that threatens global food security? So there are other things or reasons that threatens global food security, and one of it is world population growth. In the last 50 years, for example the years 1960 and 2010, the global population has increased from 3.0 billion to 6.8 billion people. On 11th October 2012, the world was inhabited by roughly 7,967,253 people. And according to the demographic forecast in 2025, the Earth will be inhabited by 7.4 billion people, and in 2050, 9.1 billion people, which would flip the natural balance of nature and is more than the capacity of Earth can handle. So, the next threat or challenge to the global food security would be the increase in the demand of food. So, forecast increase in the world's population to over 9 billion in 2050 will result in the further growth in the food demand. At present, global food production guarantees the consumption of 2,796 kilocalories daily by each inhabitant of Earth. However, due to unequal access to food, 25% of the world's population is undernourished and the other 10% is starving. Food prices is also considered as a threat to global food security. Global food crisis began with a sudden increase in food prices all over the world at the turn of 2007 to 2008. It resulted in an increase in the cost of food production imports. With this increase of prices, it brought catastrophic effects on household budgets, hindering some families from having 3 meals a day, and with the effects of climate change, prices of these food products is estimated to be double by the year 2030. The increase in the area of scarcity of water and the limitation of availability of land is also a challenge that threatens global food security. For all we have known, water is one of the most important factors deciding the fate of human beings. Around the world, 97% constitutes salt water of the water resources, where 3% constitutes fresh water. 69% of this fresh water is stored in glaciers and ice caps, while 30% is stored underground, leaving only 1% for available drinking water globally. With the increase of global temperature due to climate change, amounts of fresh water that is consumed by plants, humans, and wildlife greatly decreases, adding problems to agriculture and other aspects related to the living of human beings on Earth. Also, the increase on population demands for more food sources, but with the increase of population, it also brought the need for more living spaces. And with this, some farmlands are being sold off for urbanization projects and housing, which affects the capability of humans in producing sufficient food supplies for every inhabitant of Earth. Lastly, food losses and food waste also threatens global food security. With the issue of food scarcity and starvation, human beings still neglect basic human decency and waste food. Roughly 1.3 billion tons per year gets lost or wasted globally, not to mention food losses during food production stage or storage state due to natural disasters and other illegal imports and exports.
In Philippine setting, there are a lot of issues when it comes to security in all different aspects. But today, we're going to talk about food security. According to Economist Intelligence Unit or EUI that was released 2 years ago, it is said that in the Philippines, the food consumption takes a lot more percentage of household expenses compared to global, which are 42.2% and 29.5% respectively. Assessing countries ranked for Global Food Security Index or GFSI has its ideal standard and it's based on different major factors like affordability, availability, quality, and safety. Now, when we say food security in a literal sense, it all means that we have achieved an equilibrium in all types of aspects. For example, majority of people has an adequate access to food while considering the physical, social, and economic state. In present time, which Philippine economy is drastically fluctuated due to several reality factors. First, we have food crisis because of the pandemic, when we experience excessive purchases which makes the food less accessible to some. Next is its utilizations in a way that people tend to purchase food that is not necessary, but due to panic, people became uncontrollable to what they really want to buy, not considering what others be needing. Another point is that we also cannot deny that the handling of the systems during imports and exports are sometimes out of range, which makes it unstable and less secure. there are also a lot of misleading actions that cause a lot of loopholes when it comes to internal and external transactions domestically or globally. Food security is very complex. It cannot be easily stabilized or maintained depending on what type of system the country is implying. It is very transparent that not all of people can buy every food or single meal nor access the right and nutritious food, which are surprisingly a lot more expensive and non-nutritious food. This problem is another negative factor that hinders the equilibrium or the achieving one's food security or as a whole. Research does a huge part to alleviate these types of issues. This will inhibit certain actions that will keep an eye about what are the other options that might let us stay in lane when it comes to food security. During this pandemic, this is considered to be a global challenge, which needs an immediate response, yet we still cannot expect a faster outcome phase. It is a slow phase process because every step needs to be assured and tested. As a part of the society, every single individual may help by contributing ethically driven actions, plans, and programs that will encourage other people to also act towards issues and initially to do same thing. This might be a great idea to pave way for others' brilliant suggestions that is considered to be as the person's accountability and responsibility as a citizen. With conviction, I really do believe that in every performed action, it comes with a great reaction. This statement simply implies that if we will continue to promote and develop our visions to achieve food security, then for sure it will be a great start to make it possible. Despite of the deflating ideas or ways to achieve food security, it does not mean that it cannot be interchangeable. There are still a lot of ways to eradicate food insecurity. Moreover, there is indeed a huge space for improvement, and of course, it should be done with a specific and well-planned time. That way, the process can be foreseen and transparent. This will also help in identifying risk during initiation, and through this, food security develops and we will be more likely to be achieved. So to answer the question, is food security possible? Yes, it is.